Let's talk about a secret battleground that's, well, it's closer than you think. In fact, it's happening right this very second, inside your mouth.
And what if the hero in this hidden war was lurking in plain sight, maybe in something as ordinary as your daily cup of tea? Stick around. This is going to be interesting.
All right, so before we can possibly meet our hero, we need to get to know the battlefield. And that battlefield, as you might have guessed, is your mouth.
I want you to picture your mouth as this huge, bustling city. It's packed with millions of tiny residents. Now, most of them are good citizens, just doing their thing. But, like any city, it's also got its share of troublemakers. We're talking bad bacteria just looking to stir things up.
So let's meet the main suspects, the real villains of our story. We've got characters like S. mutans, which is a major cause of cavities. And then there's P. gingivalis, a big player when it comes to gum inflammation. These guys are basically the ringleaders behind plaque and a whole lot of other oral health headaches.
So how do these little villains pull it off? Well, they're pretty clever. They don't just wander around on their own. Nope. They team up and build this slimy fortress to keep themselves safe. The fancy scientific name for this fortress is a biofilm.
And this slimy, protective fortress, this biofilm, you definitely know it by its more common name, plaque. That's right, the gunk your dentist is always bugging you about. It's actually a super organized, well-built fortress for bad bacteria.
Okay, but we've got our villains, and every good story needs a hero. And like we hinted at, this hero might just be brewing in your kitchen as we speak. We're talking about a simple cup of black tea.
So let's meet them. Our heroes are called Theaflavins, or TFs for short. The best way to think about them is like a special forces team for your mouth. They're these really powerful compounds that get created when black tea leaves are oxidized.
So what's their deal? What makes these Theaflavins so special? Well, according to the research we've looked at, they seem to have 3 very distinct superpowers for taking on those villains in your mouth.
First, we've got the Fortress Breacher, which, as you can guess, takes the fight right to the bacteria. Then there's the Peacemaker, which is all about calming things down. And last but not least, we have the Bodyguard, which is focused on pure protection. Let's break down exactly what they do.
Okay, first up, the Fortress Breacher. Its mission is actually super simple. Get in there, take the fight directly to those bacterial troublemakers, and start dismantling their slimy little headquarters, that plaque biofilm.
So how does it actually work? Well, it's a 3-part attack. First, these TFs literally punch holes right into the bacteria's walls. Ouch. Next, they sabotage what's basically a glue factory, a special enzyme the bacteria need to build that sticky plaque. And by doing all that, they weaken the entire fortress, which makes it way easier for your toothbrush to just sweep it all away.
All right, so fighting the bad guys is one thing. But what about all the chaos they leave behind? When bad bacteria invade, it can make your gums really angry and inflamed. And that's where the second power comes in, the Peacemaker. Think about it this way. When your gums are under attack, your body's alarm system just starts blaring. It sends out all these panic signals. The Theaflavins act like a peacemaker. They come in and help turn down the volume on those alarms, while at the same time, they boost the, hey, everything's okay signals. It just helps bring everything back to a more balanced, calm state. And that brings us to the third and final superpower, the Bodyguard. This one is all about playing defense. It's about protecting your delicate tissues from a totally different threat called oxidative stress.
So how does the Bodyguard keep you safe? First, it zaps these nasty little particles called reactive oxygen species. They're like tiny little bullets that can damage your cells. But it doesn't stop there. The Bodyguard also calls for backup. It actually boosts your body's own internal security team, its antioxidant enzymes, to help your gums better defend themselves. Pretty cool, right?
So let's just step back and put this all together. You've got a Fortress Breacher, a Peacemaker, and a Bodyguard, all working together. What does that actually add up to?
Well, by fighting the bad bacteria, calming down that inflammatory response, and protecting your tissues, these 3 powers work in harmony to help support a much more balanced and healthier environment inside your mouth. Okay, I know this all sounds pretty amazing, but before you run out and decide that black tea is some kind of magic potion, we have to stop for a really, really important reality check.
And I want to read this directly from our source material, because it is absolutely critical to understand. Theaflavins are not an FDA-approved medical treatment for any dental or gum diseases.
So, the number one takeaway here has to be this. What we've talked about is for informational purposes only. You should always talk to your dentist or another healthcare professional to figure out what's right for you and your health. They're the real experts.
And that's our look at the secret battle in your mouth. You know, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday foods out there could be hiding their own superpowers, just waiting for us to find them? Thanks for joining me.